program. It's an endowment, Bhagirathi Ramachandra endowment. And we thank Parvatam and Priya who are here, and we hope Suma will also join us. And I'm going to introduce the speaker, Sri Kameshwar. He is a software engineer by profession, and he believes good engineering is an art. He has been with Tata Consultancy Services for several years as a design thinker. His personal passions are storytelling and creative writing, and he is the author of many books, and most of them are centered around Ramana Maharishi. He is also the associate editor of the monthly journal, The Ramana Way, by the Ramana Maharshi Center of Learning, Bangalore. His wife, Kalai Mamani, Dr. Ambika Kameshwar, is renowned in music and dance, and she is the founder director of Rasa, a school for children with special needs. We are very happy. She is a student of our Kuppuswamy Shastri Research Institute, as well as the daughter Vaishnavi Purna, who has finished PhD and is going to defend her thesis in a short while. Thank you very much, sir, for give a lecture today on Ambal. Over to Sri Kameshwar.
Arunachala, may I start?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Vande Shri Ramana Rishi Acharyasya Padabjam Yo me darshayadisham Bhantam Dvantamatitya Akhila Jagan Mato Ma Tamasa Tapena Chakulanasman Anugrannat Tvanukampa Sudhagraya Hasita Chandrikaya. Let me just put the right view. I'm not able to get the right view. Doesn't matter. Active speaker view ponna. Well, today we are going to explore a small part of the large, the infinite milk ocean that Sri Kavikanta Ganapati Muni was. The two shlokas that we just heard, the first one is the invocatory verse of a composition called Ramana Chatvarimshat, written by Ganapati Muni. Vande Shri Ramana Risher Acharyasya Padabjam Yome Darshayadisham Bhantam Dvantam Atitya. I bow to the lotus feet of sage Sri Ramana, the great teacher, who showed me the effulgent Lord who transcends the darkness of ignorance. In the second slokam that we saw, Akhila Jagan Mato Ma Tamasa Tapena Chakulana Sman, that is the invocatory verse of the magnum opus of Muni, which was referred to just a bit earlier, the Uma Sahasram. And if it's possible for the others to switch off the video, it will be whoever is the host. Because there is, it's videos and or microphones. Is it possible to mute? There's some noise coming. Yeah. Right. So May Uma, the mother of the entire world, Akhila Jagannmata Uma, Tamasat Apena Chakula Nasman, bless us who are afflicted with the darkness of ignorance and suffering. May she bless us with the moonlight of her smile, moist with the nectar of compassion. This is the invocatory verse of Uma Sahasram. The Ramana Chatwarimshat is a composition that is chanted every morning in Sri Ramanashram till date. And the composition of this Chatwarimshat has an interesting background. We go back to the time period of January to March in 1908. The setting was a small temple in the slopes of Arunachala. In the lower slopes of Arunachala, the temple was of goddess Pachayamman, the emerald goddess. Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi has said that it refers to Parvati when she came to Tiruvannamalai and did tapasya in Gautama Ashrama for appeasing Sarveshwara. So she is Pachayamman. In that temple, Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni was with Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi when he saw a vision of a star light coming and touching the forehead of Sri Ramana 6 times. And he immediately, spontaneously recognized that this is none other than Lord Subramanya. And then he had written some verses and then he continued writing them, and that was compiled as the composition called Ramana Chatwarimshat. So Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni is referred to in literature, in those who are in the Ramana fold, in any of these ways, either as Kavyakanta or as Muni. Muni means like when we say Dikshadhar, we mean Apaya Dikshadhar. When we say Periva, we mean Mahaperiva, like that. When we say Muni in the Ramana circle, it straight away means Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni. Or he also is referred to as Nayana, because that was his popular name. Ramana Maharshi himself used to call him as Nayana. So that was what he was referred to. We'll call him Muni. Muni was a great tapasvi, a Maha tapasvi. He was a Siddha Purusha. He was a Shastragya with all across all Shastras. He was a great Vedavid. He was a Mantrakya, Mantra Siddhi of so many. And he was a supreme poet, Kavi. He got the title of Kavyakanta itself. But among all these, most of all, if one is to say, what was he? He was a Maha Tapasvi. He was a great Tapasvi. Right from his early days, he was only talking about tapas all the time. So we saw the birth of Ramana Chatwarimshat in the temple of the goddess Pachayamman in the slopes of Tiruvannamalai Hill, Arunachala. If you have an opportunity to go there, please go. It's a beautiful little quaint temple set in the village tradition, a temple. It will never be crowded. And you will find beautiful vahanas of the goddess as well as village deities, etc. outside, big village deities in the courtyard. And the view of Arunachala is magnificent. And the temple pond has got a lot of history. Beautiful place. So this was sometime in January, February 1908 when this happened. But let us now go a few months earlier. We will go to a momentous date in the spiritual history, I may say, of mankind. 2 months earlier in the year November, same month as we are in now, in November in the say 1907. Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni was not yet 29 at that time. By English date, he was just 29. But let us say, all right, he was just about 29 by the Telugu or the Tamil date had not yet come. He was about 29. And he had consumed with great knowledge of all the Shastras, etc. He had his sweep of knowledge was enormous. He was a great tapasvi, but despite all that, and he had been all over doing tapasya, despite all that, that fire that I have not yet realized, the supreme realization that is to be realized was burning him. And he had come to Arunachala. He had come to Arunachala. There was some student of his who had a house there. He had come to Arunachala and he had straight away wanted to do tapasya. He chose, if you have been on the Girivalam path, there are 8 lingas around the hill in 8 directions. In the Niruti direction, there's a lingam called Niruti Lingam. So there he sat, so southwest direction, but facing northeast. He sat there and he first started his tapasya in Maunam on Parabrahman, so that looking for guidance as to how to go forward. And then he got the guidance and he started doing, at that time he started there itself, he started doing tapasya of the Panchakshari Shiva Japa. And all this he writes in his own biography, so to say, the short biography that he wrote. And he says he completed 1 crore of japa there. 1 crore. And when these are the tapasya that they used to do, we cannot even imagine. So the kashta sahanam that they would undergo by doing tapasya is incredible. So the barely eating, like that, they will be throughout the night, throughout the day, when they sleep, the exhaustion, enormous. So he did 1 crore of Shiva Japa and then he decided that still he has to further decided to dhyanam, etc. He was there, night and day, in that place. And then one night he got a dream that it was during this season, just before the Deepam. So the Brahmotsavam was happening, the Ratha, the Annamaleshwara temple, which is now going on, all that was happening at the time. The chariot Ter movement, etc. So he got a dream that the Ter has stopped and if he comes, then it will move. So this was sometime midnight. So he got up and he immediately he must have been dozing a bit. He got this dream. He got up and straight away walked from Niruti Lingam to the main temple, somewhere that side. And yes, the chariot had stopped, but people had given up pushing it. There was no way to push it. They had gone, only the watchman was there. So he prayed to the Lord saying, I'll come again in the morning. He came in the morning. He prayed to the Lord saying, Lord, by your grace, you may please move. And no sooner he did that, the chariot moved. Then he was so exhausted, he went home to this student's place and he was just thinking there and he was in deep angst because for all the tapasya that he had done, the great efforts that he had put in, he was not in the getting what he was seeking. And so he was lying down, he was thinking, what should I do? And it was daytime, it was midday. Then he decided that he should go. He had 4 or 5 years ago, it was not 4 or 5, 5 years ago, he had met Brahmana Swami, he was called, Ramana Maharshi was called Brahmana Swami at that time, because nobody referred to, he had no name. He was a young boy, youth in the hill of Arunachala, who was wearing a kaupina and he was there. And straight away, even 5 years ago, Muni had realized that here was a boy who had actually realized that, what needs to be realized. So now he remembered that, he said, let me go to the Brahmana Swami. So at 2 o'clock in the afternoon heat, he straight away started off up the hill. He thought there will be a lot of crowd. He went up the hill, he met this young Sri Ramana Maharshi at the time. Ramana Maharshi would have been a year younger in physical age, younger to Muni. So he must have been about 28. He was in the hill outside Virupaksha cave. He was sitting there all alone when this is how destiny shapes those momentous moments of spirituality. He was all alone and here was Muni. He went there and he straight away caught both his feet. He says, I caught his right feet with my right hand, left feet with the left hand. I lay down prostrated I put my head on his feet thereafter and I told him and I prayed with my heart full of agitation. I prayed to him and I told him, I have understood the deep meaning of the Shastras. I have repeated the great mantras crores of times with contemplation. Many vratas I have performed, but still missing is the grace of God. Where is the lapse in my tapas? Have I missed understanding the very nature of tapasya? I plead ignorance. I surrender to you, O all-knowing one. Accept me as your disciple and bless me. He prayed to him like that. Now, imagine this, that up until that time, this is 1907, Ramana Maharshi has come to Arunachala in 1896. Sometime after that, I mean, he is mostly Maunam, but for the last many, many years after 1896, he has not spoken. He's just in Maunam, and he's in Atmananda. He is Atmanishta. He's like that. And here is a young Muni. He's come and asking him this question. And Muni says that he says that the young Ramana Maharshi looked at him with great compassion for a while. He says, I fell at his feet with this agitated state of mind, desperately seeking for guidance. A soothing stream of compassion from the sage encompassed me. He could effortlessly gauge my confounded state. And as if comforting me, he looked at me for a while with his eyes exuding serenity. And then he replied to me. So he spoke. He actually spoke. Until that time, before, when others had met him and asked him some questions, he didn't speak. He would write on the ground with some kuchi in the mud and reply, if at all. Now he spoke. And what he spoke, the Muni has written in Sanskrit, and he said, Ahamiti kuta ayati iti vicharayan udayasthale liyate tadeva tapah. The Muni had asked, what is tapas? Ahamiti kuta ayati iti vicharayan udayasthale liyate tadeva tapah. If one watches where the notion of aham, I, where the I notion springs from, if one watches, the mind will be absorbed in that place from where it dawns, Udayasthalam. And when it is absorbed there, the mind is absorbed in that heart, that place, that is tapas. Then he also added, Bhagavan also added, he said, Japyamanasya mantrasya nada uta udeti iti vicharite udayasthane linam bhavet manaha tadeva tapah. Because Muni had done crores of japa. He said if a mantra is repeated and the attention is directed to the source where the mantra sound is produced, the mind will be absorbed in that source. That is tapas. So these momentous teachings that young Ramana gave, at that time he was called Brahmana Swami, he gave to Nayana. Nayana was filled with joy, he says. And he knew that this was, he wrote immediately to his followers that I have found my Guru. His teaching is original. He is entirely original. And this Brahmana Swami whom I have found, he says, he wrote that he is Bhagavan. He is a Maharishi. And he asked, one attendant was there, he asked him, what is his name? So he had told him his name is Venkatramana. He says, I will shorten it and call him Ramana because it's both in sound and in meaning. It exactly conveys what he is. He is beautiful. So we will call him Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharishi. From now on, he will be called that. And that's how today we call Bhagavan as Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi, thanks to Muni on that day of 1907, November the 18th. Now, Muni immediately decided, it was very clear to him that he had found his Sadguru. And he had found his Sadguru due to the grace of Goddess Uma. He has written that it is through her grace that I found my Sadguru. So before we proceed further and from that point of time, let us take a quick recap and go back to the first instance when the Goddess smiled on him and on the world. This was even when he was born. Muni was born in 1878. He was also born around this date. He was actually born on English date of November 17th of 1878. And his mother and his parents hailed from a village which is near Srikakulam in Andhra. And his father was a great mantragya. They were in the village. His mother, they were all pious people, as we can understand them at those times, who were pious, poor people in some land, living in a village. And his mother had come. There is this famous temple of sun god called Arsavalli Surya Narayana Koi. It's a beautiful temple. I've been there. It's a wonderful temple of the sun god. Till today, it vibrates with the greatness of that divinity. So, like in those days, due to, especially for any illness, etc., they pray to sun god. So she had, to fulfill one pledge, she had come on Ratha Saptami day to the temple of Arsavalli Surya Narayana, and she spent the night there. Many times they were, especially in those times, as a fulfillment of prayer or as for a part of a prayer, they would stay overnight in the temple courtyard, sleep. They would sleep and stay in the temple for days together. So on Ratha Saptami day, she was staying overnight in the temple, and then sometime during when the 3/4 of the night had passed, she had a vision. And in that vision, the goddess of the temple, beautiful goddess of the temple, of golden hue, heavenly appearance, celestial appearance, she came walking to her holding a pitcher in her hand which contained fire. She came and with great love, she gave that pitcher to the Muni's mother was called Narsamamba. His father was called Narsimhan. Narsamamba, she gave it to her and disappeared. And the moment she got the pitcher in her hand, that pitcher became converted into a small male child, male baby. And then she got up and realized that this was a great blessing that she had got in the temple. And then she went home. And her husband, of course, he was adept in mantra, he was adept in Jyotisha, he was adept in astrology, he was adept in Ayurveda, etc. He said, we will be having a male child. He went off to Kashi. And in Kashi, he was at some months later, 9 months later, he was doing japa. He was doing japa in the Dundubi Ganapati temple. There he had a vision of Ganapati coming out of the idol and coming and sitting in his lap. And he realized that I must have had a child. And he went back to Andhra, and then yes, he had a child. And that child, therefore, was named, because of all this grace, he was named as Surya Ganapati. Because Surya there and Ganapati here. And because they hailed from the Gotra of Vasishta, he was Vasishta, Kaundinya Maitravana, that is Kaundinya Gotra. So he was called Vasishta Ganapati Muni. That is the birth. And the very birth was blessed by the goddess Ambal of the temple in Arsavalli. Now, this was how the boy was born. And being at home, I mean, I'm just giving small, not a whole, but small parts of that story. So he was a genius, this kid. Although till the age of 5, he could not speak, and he was not able to speak, he was not able to hear. All that traditional things, there was a traditional cure. He became, by the grace of God, he suddenly started speaking, and he was an absolute genius. And he started learning from his father. His father was a mantragya, etc. He initiated him very early into Sri Vidya Upasana. At the age of 13, he was initiated into Sri Vidya Upasana. This child, Ganapati, he started composing poetry at the age of 10. He could cast a Panchangam. He cast Panchangam at the age of 10. Can you imagine that? He learned Mantra Shastra, he learned Ayurveda, he learned Jyotisha from his father. He could do all that. And before entering his teens, before he became a teenager, he had already delved deeply into the Kavyas of Kalidasa, Bharavi, and others. I mean, what is this intellect that we are talking about? He was Sri Vidya Upasaka. He was initiated, and they did Japa, Mahaganapati Mantra, Panchakshari, Medha Dakshinamurti, Narayana Ashtakshari, Shaura Ashtakshari, Chandi Navakshari, Bala Varahi, Bhuvaneshwari, Shodashi, etc. He says. All this he was done in his teenage itself. He mastered the Vedas, the Vedangas, the Puranas. He says he studied the Ramayana and Mahabharata, and he studied particularly the Mahabharata several times in his teenage. Several times. Can you imagine? We can't read Mahabharata once. It's so such a ocean. Several times in his teenage itself. What is kind of genius is it except the grace of the goddess of learning? That is what it was. That was powering him at the time. And he was married at the age of 18 to his wife, his partner in Tapasya, he calls her, Visalakshi. And his writings are, I wish I could show you, but it's 11 volumes. They have collected decently. They have published it from Ramanashram. They collected works of Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni in Sanskrit. 11 volumes. It is an encyclopedia of knowledge that cuts across all aspects of Sanskrit knowledge and literature and everything. Now, all this is fine, but his main interest was tapasya. So even after he got married at the age of 18, with his wife's permission, he left home and he went off to do tapasya. Throughout his early years of his 20s, etc., he was just roaming from place to place doing tapasya. He went all over India. He went to the banks of Godavari, he went to Prayag, he went to Vindhyachala, he went to Kashi, he went to Nasik, all of that. And sometime in between, he also attended the galaxy of Navadvipa, where they have a great Vidvat Sammelanam where they test people, etc. He had gone there and he had defeated all of the greatest of scholars there, and they awarded the title to him of Kavyakanta, one in whose throat poetry resides. That was what he was. And now coming back to the goddess, as a part of this tapasya, he had gone to Bhuvaneshwar. And in Bhuvaneshwar, he decided to do tapasya for 9 weeks in the temple there. Every morning, he used to chant the Lalita Sahasranama 9 times, every single day, for 9 weeks. 1 second, I'll answer the questions later. It is available in Ramanashram. Somebody had asked a question in the chat. So, Bhuvaneshwar, 9 weeks every morning, he chanted the Sahasranama with deep contemplation. The Sahasranama chanting with contemplation, they say, for example, when the great Jagadguru Shankaracharya of Sringeri, Sri Chandrasekhara Bharati, used to do Archana to a goddess chanting the Lalita Sahasranama. And this is Anantarama Dikshidhar in one of his discourses, he said, he saw when Jagadguru Shankaracharya was chanting the name Antarmukha Samaradhyai Namaha. Antarmukha Samaradhyai Namaha. He would just go in and then his hand won't move. He would be absorbed. Like that, the deepest contemplation these great sages have. He used to do 9 times, Muni was doing 9 times, every day for 9 days. At the end of the 9th week, he had a vision. He had great vision. In the night time, it was in the courtyard of the temple. Moon was up. He had a vision of Bhuvaneshwari, the goddess of Bhuvaneshwar. She came to him with a sweet smile, with a bowl full of honey, and she gave it to him to taste, and he kept tasting it slowly, and she was looking at him with a sweet smile, with eyes of grace. And then she went away, but she got out. He still could. He said he opened his eyes, he could still see her. And then she disappeared, but the honey was still there in his lips and his tongue, and there transformed him completely. Thereon, his diction, his vak took on the lalityam, the madhuryam in his vak, in his poetry was beautiful. That is how he became a Kavyakanta. The Lalita Sahasranama, the Lalita Litany in English, it's beautiful to call it that, Lalita Litany. The Muni, before we come to the story of the Uma Sahasram, the composition, how it happened. In that composition, in Uma Sahasram, the Muni says, in one of the Stabakas, he says, Rahasya tantrani vivichya duram vyajam vimuchya pravadami saram namaiva kamari purandrikaya siddhe nidhanam namakho nadanam. Muni says, Rahasya Tantrani Vivichaduram. I have done deep research into the secrets of the Mantra Shastra and the Tantra Shastra, and discarding all guile, all deceit, all excuses, I make plain their essence. Vyajam vimuchya pravadami saram. Namaiva kamari purandhikaya siddhe nidanam namakho nidanam. It is the name of Uma, it is the name of the consort of Kamari Shiva that bestows siddhi. Not dhanam, not yajna, not charity. Namani sankirtyatam janana karunyavattya karivakramatu punarjananya jatare nivasa daya vasatta bhavati iti mithya. He says, the men that sing the name of the compassionate mother of Gajanana, of Ganapati, to say that these men who sing the name of the compassionate mother of Ganapati will be born again in this world is a mithya, it's a complete myth. It would be a lie to say that, he says. Such was his love for the goddess, the mother, and the name of the mother, he says, is the very essence of that. In the Lalita litany, the Sahasranama, it says Muni Manasa Hamsika is one of the names. In the Manasa of the Muni, she is a swan. And so she was. She was a swan in the heart of this Muni, this Ganapati Muni. And he has written countless. There is the great magnum opus Uma Sahasram, but as a Namavali, he's written something called Uma Trishati. It is a beautiful Namavali, 300 names of Uma, which he has extracted with his deep knowledge of the Vedas, the Nigamas, the Kavyas, the Puranas, all of that. He has extracted 300 names and has strung that into such a beautiful garland. It is absolutely eminent for daily Parayana. I absolutely love it, this Trishati. If there is time at the end of today, I would like to chant it. It takes about 5.5, 6 minutes to chant it. It's a beautiful Trishati. But just to give you an idea, it's beautiful. It starts itself with Uma Haimavati. The first verse is Uma Haimavati Devi Mahadevi Maheshwari Ajadhumla Surupaika Vishwasur Vishwadharini. Like that. Uma Haimavati. Uma, as in Uma, as you all know, you're great scholars, all of you. Uma, Om is Pranava and Uma is Shakta Pranava. It is a Shakta Pranava. Uma Haimavati, Kenopanishad. The reference in the Shruti, Bahushopamanam Uma Haimavati. She comes and she shows Indra, Brahman. She is Brahma Vidya Sarupini. She, Uma Haimavati. It starts with that. The Uma, Muni loved the name Uma. He has written the Uma Sahasram, Uma Trishati, Uma Aksharamala, Uma Shatakam, many. So it's called Uma Trishati. In that, you will find all the names that you would like to of Uma there. It will have the Navadurga names, the Dasha Mahavidya names, the Sapta Matrika names. It has the story of Devi Mahatmyam, the names in that order, beautifully it will come. It will have the names to describe her from Kesha to Apadam. It's a beautiful Namavali. Now, having said that, the glimpses of the goddess will be easily enjoyable in that composition. We come back to the time of. We started by talking about the time in 1908 January when he was with Ramana Maharshi in the Pachayaman temple, and then after that we went to the time in 1907 November 18th when he went up in his angst and he found his Sadguru. He found his Sadguru. He says on 18th of November 1907. And having found the Sadguru, he decided to stay there. And he asked Sri Ramana, young Ramana, that he would like a place to do tapasya there. And Ramana had pointed out very nearby where you stay, near Virupaksha cave. All these places we can visit today, and many of you would have visited, no doubt. Next to that, very near that, there is another cave called the Amra Guha, mango tree cave is called. He said, it's eminently suitable for your tapasya. So Muni had gone there to do his tapasya. So we are talking about 18th of November. Then he decided, he has said that I have found my guru by the grace of Uma. So he had a sankalpa that he should compose in gratitude, he should compose 1,000 verses for Uma. And he asked Bhagavan Sri Ramana his guidance on that matter, saying, I have this sankalpa. And he says, he encouraged me, saying, do it. So he decided that he started, and you know how these great geniuses are. So like Arjuna had decided that he will kill Jayadratha before sundown tomorrow, like that. And Krishna, Mahabharata says, he said, what has he done? How can he have taken such a rash vow? Anyway, so Muni decided, he took a vow saying, in 20 days from today, or whatever date he had decided, I will complete these 1,000 verses to Uma and offer it to her. This was his vow that he took, and he started it on the 26th of November, same year, 1907. Out of curiosity, I went and looked up the Panchangam of that date of 26th of November, 1907. And always there is always magic in spirituality. And whatever I found that it is his Janma Nakshatram. That is, it is birth date, exact. His birth date, year, I mean, his start birth date. So on that 29th birthday of his, he started this composition, Uma Sahasram. And he was to complete it by the 14th or so of December. And he found when he was, and somewhere towards when he was there, when he was completing 700 odd verses, around that time he got a bad boil in his vitlu, in his finger. He could not write at all. It's a big problem for him. He could not write. And he didn't know what to do because he was not going to be able to, there was only one, and there was a very short time left to complete the 1,000, and he was not able to even write. He was suffering. When miraculously some doctor came from Chennai, from Madras at the time, I said he had a dream saying, go to Arunachala in the slope, there is a rishi who is doing, he's got a problem, you have to do surgery on him. He came, he met Ramana Maharshi and said, is there something like that? He said, yes, he pointed him out, and he did the surgery on the hand, right in the hill. But it was now D-Day because before tomorrow, he had to complete a little more than 200 verses. And it was evening today. And so he now decided, and he had 5 people in front of him to whom he started dictating in different meters. 5 different people, different tabakas, different meters, 200 verses or odd verses were left. He simultaneously started dictating one line here, one line there, one line there. This only those geniuses, if we see Ashtavadhanam, etc. nowadays, we get a small glimpse of it. This is far, far higher. This he did that, and Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi was sitting in deep silence. You can imagine the night time of Arunachala in the hill, in the deep silence of the hill itself, of Arunachala itself. And now Bhagavan Sannidhyam, with 5 people taking down the dictation, he started dictating, and he completed. By midnight, he had completed the 200 verses of Uma, that the last final 1,000th verse he had completed. And when he completed the 1,000th verse, he says, Sri Ramana emerged from his deep samadhi, and he opened his eyes slightly, and he asked Nayana, Muni, saying, have you taken down all that I have said? It gives my horripilations to think of this even now, of the time when Yamuna made that statement to Muni, and Muni told him, I have received all that was given to me by your grace, and the work is completed. He realized that it was Bhagavan. That is how this magnum opus of Devi Upasana called Uma Sahasram was done. No. It is very, very, I would not even venture to say I know a little bit about it. No, it is such a vast ocean. Only the greatest of Sri Vidya Upasakas can say something. Only the sages who are in that path will be able to understand what it is, what a great work it is. Unfortunately, many times this work of Uma Sahasram got lost many times. So Muni, because of his genius, he used to reproduce it. 7 times it was revised or after that. But it is recorded that those last 200 odd verses that he did on the last day, he never touched them. The ones that he received from Bhagavan, he never touched them. The rest he might have revised multiple times. We have, by the grace of by the grace of Uma, the current the Uma Sahasram latest versions available to us today, and it is there is a translation also available both in English as well as in Telugu, etc. It's great. It's beautiful. Now, shall we sample a few verses from Sahasram? Just because we love to taste honey. Let us sample a few verses. Uma Sahasram by itself is structured in 40 tabakas. I think, yeah, of 25 verses each. And each, there are about 29 different meters that he handles in these 40 tabakas. He was a master of the meter. He would love to experiment with different meters. And I'm just taking a few verses from one of the tabakas, which deals with the manifestation of goddess Uma. Like in Bhagavad Gita, Vibhuti Yoga, like that here. Different places where he sees where is she? I'm just taking a few verses from there and chant it to you. The Stabaka itself is called Sarva Saramayi Stabakam, the essence of all. Archana Kale Rupagata Sanstuti Kale Shabdagata Chintana Kale Pranagata Tattva Vichare Sarvagata Chakshushi Drishtish Shatatama Chetasi Drishtish Chitratama Atmani Drishtish Shuddhatama Brahmani Drishti Purnatama Ujjvala Rupe Nrityakari Nishprabha Rupe Suptikari Gopika Rupe Siddhikari Gochara Rupe Bandhakari Shisha Saroje Somakala Bala Saroje Shakrakala Adha Saroje Suryakala Mula Saroje Vannikala Yodhavaranam Ayudhabha Yogivaranam Ikshanabha Bhumipati Namasanabha Premavati Namananabha Brahma Mukhabji Vagvanita Vakshasi Vishno Sri Lalita Shambhu Sharire Bhagamita Vishwa Sharire Vyomitata. Felicity with verse. What? Lalityam, Madhuryam, clarities, Sphatikam. Beautiful, sweet, direct. Archana Kale, Rupagata, Sanstuti Kale, Shabdagata, Chintana Kale, Pranagata, Tattva Vichare, Sarvagata. During worship, she is the form worshipped. During stotram, during chanting, she is the sound. During thinking, Chintana Kale, meditation and thinking, she is the prana. During inquiry, Tattva Vicharam, Tattva inquiry, she becomes all, you become all, O one. What are you not? In eyesight, Chakshushi, She is the bright light in the eye. In the mind, she is the wondrous creations, the sights of the mind. It is she. In inward look, she is Shuddhatama, she is most pure. In Brahman, she is complete, she is perfect, Purnatama. Ujjwal Rupe, Nityakari, Nishprabha Rupe, Suptikari. In all sentient forms, she is the dancer, Nityakari. She is the throbbing, I. In Jadam forms, oh Uma, you are asleep. She is there, but she is Suptikari. Gopita Rupe Siddhikari. In the concealed forms, in the chakras, inside, she works miracles. You work miracles, oh Uma. Then beautifully, Gochara Rupe Bandhakari. In objects of the senses, in the sensual objects, you are the cause of bondage, oh Mother. In the Sahasrara, you are the Somakala, the rays of the moon. In Bala Sarojam, you are the Chakrakala. In the heart, you are Surya Kala, and in Muladhara, you are Agni, Bandhikala. In the Yodhavaranam, among soldiers, you are the shine, the glint of the weapons, O Mother. In yogis, KSB sir is here, he's a master of yoga. Yogi Varanam Ikshanabha. She is the light of the side glance of yogis. In the king, among kings, Bhumipatinam, she is their throne. Asanabha, she is the shine of the throne. Premavatinam Ananabha, this only Muni can write. He says, in women in love, in ladies in love, she is the bright shine of their faces. In the Brahmamukha Vagvanita, in Brahma's lotus face, she is the goddess of speech, Vagvanita. In Vishnu's Vaksham, in the chest of Vishnu, she is Mahalakshmi, she is a Sri beauty, Sri Lalita. Shambhu Sharire Bhagamita, in the body of Shiva, she has an immeasurable share. And in cosmic body, Vishwashariram, she pervades, she's all-pervading space. Just a sample of some verses from the great magnum opus of Muni, which is Uma Sahasram. Muni, he was one of the unique people who had the experience of the highest yogic experience of Kapala Bhedam while in body. When he was with Bhagavan Sri Ramana and when he was in the hill, this was in 1924, he was doing tapasya in the hill. And imagine when he was doing this tapasya in the hill, his wife and his daughter were there. They were also in the hill. By the time Ramanashramam had started, so Bhagavan would have been up and down. He was in ashram itself as well as going up. Ashram is in the foothills of, you might have known, of Arunachala now. Amra Guha is slightly up in the hill. Muni was there. So was his wife. His daughter was there. At that time, he had the greatest experience of his body was on fire with tapasya. He describes it. It's impossible to understand what it was going through at that time. But it was in bliss. He was in bliss, and he used to send notes to Ramana Maharshi, saying, this is what is happening to me, this is what I'm experiencing now, etc. And Ramana Maharshi used to visit him. And then when he said that he could stand it no longer, his skull was in, then Ramana Maharshi just put his hand on his head and told him some traditional medicine also, that he should take some oils that he should apply. But then one night, with a cracking sound, his skull burst. And he had Kapala Bhedam, and he lived for 14 long years after that. Except that after that, he says his body became the playground of the goddess. Like we breathe through our nose, Shakti was breathing in and out through him. And it is all found expression in Uma Sahasram. He explained all that. And what can one say? He when he could never walk barefoot again. And when he used to come to ashram, Ramavashi used to especially say, please put carpet for him to walk on when he comes near me. And he could never shave his head again. He had that thing because after that Kapala Vedam. Now, some of his, as a part of that, I just thought I'll share a few verses from Uma Sahasram, where he explains some beautiful things from Devi Mahatmyam, etc. Here, first verse is from Devi Mahatmyam, but he explains in a yogic sense. He says, here's a verse. Sankalpa Kanapana Vivruddha Shaktya Jagrat Samadhi Kalayeshwari Te Vibhutya Mulagni Chandash Shashimunda Tanutra Bhetriya Chamundaya Tanushu Devi Nakindutam Syat. You know the story of Chamundeshwari. Chamunda, it comes in Devi Mahatmyam, in Chandi. That goes to that thing. There's also the great Asura, Rakta Bija. Rakta Bija is one who's got this great siddhi that if his blood falls on the ground, another Rakta Bija will come, hundreds will come. So his blood drops will create more and more and more Rakta Bijas. He can never be killed because when his blood falls, more Rakta Bija will come. Rakta itself is a Bija. Now, so we know the story that Chamunda, Devi then drinks up his blood. She doesn't let a single drop fall on the ground. So he's explaining that first. Muni says, he says each drop of blood of that Rakta Bija is the thought, is our thought. Our thought is Rakta Bija's blood drop. And Uma, she drinks it up. She swallows each thought as it rises. And then she kills that Rakta Bija, meaning she kills the mind. The mind is killed by her. When does it happen? It happens, he says, in the state of Jagrat Samadhi. Jagrat Samadhi. By her Yoga Shakti, she does that. And by her Yoga Shakti, Chanda is in the Mooladhara. She shatters Chandas. Mooladhara. She shatters the armor of Chanda. She releases the Agni, which is in Mooladhara. And in the Sahasrara, where Munda is there, she shatters Munda, the armor of Munda, and she releases Soma. And Muni says, oh Chamunda, what indeed are you not capable of doing? Beautifully he says. And then the Amrita Manthana that we know of, that Sagara Manthanam, he explains in a small verse. He says, Pranishariram Mandara Shailo Mula Sarojam Kachaparadha Purnamanantam Kshira Samudra Prishtagavena Vasukiratu. So he says, Prani Shariram Mandara Shailo, the body, the yogi, is the Mandara Shailam, the mountain Mandara which was charred. The Mula Sarojam, the Kachaparada, the Mooladhara is the Kachapa Avatara, which was holding up the Mandara Shaila. That is the Mooladhara, the Kachapa in the Mooladhara. The Kshira Samudram is the Dharakasha, the infinite Chidakasha of the yogi is the Kshira Samudram. And Prishtaka Veena, the Veena-shaped spinal column, is the Vasuki Rajju, the rope of churning. Dakshinanadi, Nirjara Sena, the right channel, the Pingala. The Pingala is the army of the Devas. Vamaganadi, Danavasena, the left Ida is the Danavasena. Shakti Vilaso Manthana Krityam, the Manthana that is done is the play of Uma. It's a play of Shakti Vilasam, it's a play of goddess. And Shishadhara Kapi Sudokta, and Amrita flows. Some Amrita flows from Sahasrara, he says. The beautiful Uma Sahasram, we would get a sample of that. Now, as we come towards the conclusion, see this. After he completed the Uma Sahasram, he completed that in this 20 days. From 26th of November 1907, he started. 14th of December, he completed. He was there for some more time in the mountain. And then he had this call from inside. And then he went to this place called, this beautiful place called Padaveedu. Many of you might have been there. Padaveedu, it's called. It's between Tiruvannamalai and Arani. There's a place called Polur. You will have heard of it. It's a beautiful Narasimha temple on a hill there. After Polur, if you go from Tiruvannamalai side, on the left side, you'll find this beautiful town called Padavedu. Padavedu is well known to people of North Arcot because it has the temple of Renuka Devi. It's a great temple. And so, I mean, I hail from my parents, my people hail from North Arcot. So we have the tradition in those days of anybody getting Ammai, etc., be taken to this temple of Renuka Devi in Padavedu, very famous temple. They all go there. And now, of course, it has become more and more famous. Actually, it's a beautiful place to go. If you have not visited it, you must visit Padavedu. It's set amidst the hills. And it was a great place of Dharma at one time. There were 108 temples of Shiva and Vishnu there. And over time, because whatever reasons they got destroyed, Renuka temple was not. But now, thanks to the TVS group and some miraculous hand of God, many of these temples are rising from the ground. So they are being remade, they're being found, they're being discovered, they're being excavated, it's coming out. It's a great place. And Renuka Devi temple. Now, Renuka Devi, he had a call, Muni had a call. So he went there, the temple, to do tapasya. And he says, he wrote from there to Ramana Maharshi, he sent a note saying that the deity, the goddess that I have awakened by composing Uma Sahasram is none other than Mother Renuka. She is activating the entire creation of the universe, remaining as the essence of Kundalini Shakti. Actually, this Padavedu is called in traditional lore. She is known in Sanskrit. That place is known as Kundalipura, Kundali Nagara. It is the place of Kundalini, Upasana, Shakti, Yoga. The river there is name of the river, small, it's now dry, is called Kundalini. And the sand of that river is white in color. And in the temple of Renuka, they give vibhuti. They give the sand. They don't give vibhuti. This sand is given there in the temple. So this Renuka Devi is the personification of Yoga Shakti there. Right. Now he had gone to that temple. And it had gone to that temple. And he was doing tapas. There are other stories related to that particular visit, but we will focus on one of them. He decided to do 24 days of tapasya in the Renuka Devi temple. When he went there, actually, he had already just composed Uma Sahasram and all that. And someone, you see, there's always these people. Someone had complained to the police that this is a composition which is against the British government. There are always these detractors of good people in the world till date. So the police had sent some people to some secret agents to investigate, and they had come to Padavedu, and Muni saw in his vision that they were coming. So he started doing pradakshina of Renuka Devi, and with each pradakshina he composed one verse like that. I think it was 28 verses he completed on Renuka Devi, called Renuka Geetam. It's a beautiful composition. Anyway, they came, secret agents came, they satisfied themselves that nothing of that sort, that complaint is false. They went away. That's not our main story. Our main story is that he did tapasya there for 24 days. And when he completed that, he had this beautiful vision where Renuka Devi herself came to him. She was accompanied by 200 sakhis, he says. 200 sakhis came with her. She came to him, and he was lying down at the time. She came to him as he was lying down, and she scratched his knee. Nails, she scratched his knee. And he was filled with bliss thereafter. And then she asked him to get up, and she walked towards, there's a shrine of Murugan there. Ekamukha Murugan. One face Murugan. She went inside and she brought out the veil and gave it to him. And his biographers say that Shanmukha, the 6 faces of Murugan, represent the 6 chakras of yoga. And the consummation of yoga is the Ekamukha Murugan, that Shakti was given by Ambal to him. And then she disappeared in the Sanctum Sanctorum of Renuka Devi. So this was his experience there. And when he got up out of that, and he found that there was a scratch and blood on his knee in reality, and he was filled with bliss. And he went, and he also realized spontaneously, he was a Vedagya. He was he is a Vedavit of par excellence. So there are many Astra mantras in the Veda. He realized, he says that one particular mantra revealed to himself, which is there in Rig Veda as the Astra mantra of Parashurama. Renuka Devi is the mother of Parashurama, right? She's Jamadagni's wife. So Parashurama had beheaded her on the command of Jamadagni. That head alone is the worshipped in Renuka Devi temple in Padaveedu, or in any of our temples or Amman, Mundakani Amman, etc. We find just the head. So that Astra mantra. So this great experience of the goddess, this glimpse of the great goddess Uma as Renuka Devi, we saw thanks to the Muni. Now we are now completing. We'll take just a few verses of the Renuka Geetam. And for the joy of that great composition of the goddess that he had composed, and we'll complete that. So it's a very simple, nice, beautiful verse. Sura Shira Chara Charana Renuka Jagadadhishwari Jayati Renuka Devata Shiro Teshalalitam Renuka Padam Chatume mudam kundalipuri mandanam kimapi bhasatam mama sada hridi mastatavam vastu shashvatam asti me sada shastadam mudi asti me sada shastadam hridi adinarite pada pankajam Puratu me mana sarasi sarvada. Just a few verses. Victory to Renuka, the supreme ruler of the universe, in whose lotus feet graze the foreheads of the Devatas. May Renuka's feet, which are fondled by the foreheads of the Devatas, may it bestow joy unto me. Kundalipuri Mandanam. Oh, there is some indescribable radiance that adorns Kundalipuri. Kundalipuri is Padaveedu. May that always shine in my heart. Kimapi bhasatam mama sada vriddhi. Mastakaitavam vastu shashvatam. Mastakaitavam, the head of Renuka is cut. It's a severed head. That severed head is but a trickery. The substance is shashvatam. It is eternal. It ever exists in my heart, bestowing supreme good. Adinarite, oh, the first among women, may your latest lotus feet ever throb with the lotus of my mind. This is the slokam that he created in Padaveedu. So I thought we could explore a bit of Ganapati Muni, his life, his works, and the glimpses of the goddess today. Firstly, I would thank also KSRI and especially the endowment lecture organized by Bhagirathi Amma and Ramachandra Iyer. I came to know through my friend that, and through KSB sir, that Ramachandra Iyer was the brother of Sri V. Krishna Swami, the great doyen who started the Sanskrit college. There's always some magic. I'll end this present sharing with two such magic. One magic is that Sri V. Krishna Swami Iyer, Muni writes in his biography, he mentions him. He says during his trip to Chennai, Madras, in first part of maybe around 1905, 1906, around that time, he was asked to make a presentation, to talk in a house in Mylapore, where among the great people who had assembled there was C.V. Krishna Swami Iyer, he says, and he says of graceful expression. He calls him C.V. Krishna Swami Iyer, of graceful expression. And among the things that Muni was asked to do that day, imagine the intellectual giants of Mylapore have gathered like you have all today. And perhaps the geniuses of those times were so great. They asked him they asked him to compose what is called the Ganta Shatakam. That is, in 1 hour, you compose 100 verses. So Muni was asked to do that. And the topic is, they give the topic. So they gave the topic of Nalopakhyana, Nalada Mayanti Charitram. And he asked him to compose 100 verses. And Muni, in 6 minutes, he had composed 25 verses. They had to stop, saying, "Stop, we can't take it down, you are so fast." So he mentions that, the connection of V. Krishnaswamy Iyer in that book of his Vasishta Vaibhavam. And the other magic is more personal. It is so beautiful, actually. We began with the November 8th of 1907, when Muni went up the hill and had he surrendered to young Brahmana Swami and who became the Sadguru Sri Ramana Maharshi there on that beautiful day of Kartika Masam, Ashwini Nakshatram. I checked the Panjang just like that. I checked what day was it, what Nakshatram was it, etc. It is exactly today. Today is that day, Kartika Masam, Ashwini Nakshatram. We did not choose this date. Sanskrit Academy, KSB sir said, "Why don't you do it on this date?" It happens to be that very date, all those years later. If this is not the grace of God, what is the grace of God? It was just before Kartika Deepam. We are just before Kartika Deepam. Wonderful coincidence of God. On that note, we will complete it. And as a Mangalam, so to say, we will just chant this this verse from let me see if I can find it. If I find it, fine. Yes. We started with the invocatory verse of Ramana Chattvarimshat. So towards the end of Ramana Chattvarimshat, there is this verse which I'm going to chant. It says, "Devi Shaktiriyam Drishochedajana Dvantakshayadayini Devi Shiriyam Ambujakshamaishi Vaktre Sahasrachade Devi Brahmavaduriyam Vijayate Vyahara Gudhapara Vishvacharya Mahanubhava Ramanatvam Stautu Prakrita." Oh Devi, in your eyes, he is talking to Ramana Maharshi, he says to Bhagavan, he says, "In your eyes is present Goddess Durga, accomplishing the destruction of Ajnana, of people who surrender to you, O Ramana. In your face, O Ramana, resembling 1,000-petaled lotus, is Goddess Lakshmi, the queen of the lotus-eyed Vishnu. In you, Goddess Saraswati, the consort of Brahma, holds her sway as Para, the secret hidden in speech. O Master of the universe, O illustrious Ramana, how can an ordinary man extol thee? How can I praise you?" And one verse from Uma Sahasram. "Jayatu Bharata Kshoni Khandam Vishada Vivarjitam Jayatu Ganapatas Tasya Kshemam Vidhatu Mana Munihi Jayatu Ramana Tasya Acharyo Maharshi Kulachalo Jayatu Cha Tayor Mata Puta Mahesha Vilasini." May the land of Bharata, he was a great patriot. He wrote a constitution of India in Sanskrit. Muni. May the land of Bharata be devoid of sorrow. Victory to the sage Ganapati who desires the welfare of the land of Bharata. May he be safe and sound. Victory to his master Sri Ramana Maharshi, who is steadfast like a mountain among the clan of rishis, of sages. Victory to the great mother of them both. Muni he considered himself Amsha of Ganapati and Ramana as Subramanya. He says, "May victory to the great mother of both, the chaste one, the consort of Maheshwara. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya." Thank you.
You said you chant Oma Trishati in the end, no?
That will take about 6 minutes. I think people are running out of time. Is that Shankar?
Yes, it is.
I will chant it to you in private.
Thanks.
I have a grandson here who is also demanding, saying, "You have done your time." He is a timekeeper for me and he is glaring at me.
Okay.
Thank you, KSB sir. Thank you, ma'am. Anybody wants to? Shall we come?
In fact, it is we who have to thank lecture for an excellent presentation, and I am extremely happy on personal note because there were so much of materials in the field of yoga in your lecture. So it was a great lecture. And I think somebody has done a research on Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni also, but I think it requires more time and somebody should take up the life and works of Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni. And this is the first time or second time perhaps I am listening about Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni. I think I have listened to one lecture by Shankar Narayanan of Ashok Leyland. He was also a follower of Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni. And this is the second time I am listening about Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni. And it was a wonderful lecture. The speaker talked about the early days of Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni. And it is said, I have read that Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni, Seshadri Swamigal and Ramana Maharishi, they were called Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. So they represented the Trinity in Tiruvannamalai, and so many thousands and thousands of people were benefited by their benign presence. And even today, there are thousands of people who are being benefited by reading and by also trying to experience the nectar of their teaching. And just to name few, the wonderful combination of Surya and Ganapati in his birth was very aptly described by Sri Kameshwar. And it is amazing that in his teen age itself, he has amassed so much of knowledge. Besides being initiated into Srividya properly by his father, of course, the Kena Upanishad talks about Uma Haimavati. Sri Kameshwar has brought about that also in his lecture. And in a span of, say, 1,000 verses, Uma Sahasram, 29 meters have been used. I didn't read it fully, but since we have it in our library, I have just passed through the text. Some of the portions of the text, it's indeed a combination of modernity as well as ancient knowledge that Kupuswami Shastri himself stood for. So that is an excellent text to be read. I think somebody has made a study on this text also. But it is wonderful to talk about Rakta Bija. We know that Rakta stands for red color and also it stands for desire or passion. Rakta by itself means that is passion or desire. So true. One desire leading to another desire, like Buddha said, because the desire is the root cause of all the sufferings. Therefore, the Kali or Ambal, she takes the first desire itself, therefore putting the stop to all other desire. That is the Rakta Bija, which was wonderfully explained by Sri Kameshwar sir. And then about Jagrat Samadhi, it is an excellent word. I think Yoga Vasishta, strangely the word Vasishta also comes there. Yoga Vasishta talks about different forms of Samadhi. We are aware of the 4 stages, Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, and then the Turiya. And Yoga Vasishta talks about the combination of all these things. Jagrat, Jagrat Swapna, Jagrat Sushupti, and Jagrat Samadhi. Like that, all this combination. And Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni, it is amazing. In modern parlance, it is also known as Sahaja Samadhi. Hatha Yoga text also talks about, in Vaishnava tradition, it is called Sambhavi Mudra in Yoga tradition, and in Vaishnavi Mudra in the Vaishnava Agamas. Antardrishtihi, Antarlaksham, Bahirdrishtihi, Nimeshonmesha Varjita, Seshatu, Sambhavi Mudra, Sarvatantreshu Gopita. So they compensate it with the word Vaishnavi. And of course, Vaishnavi is your daughter also. So you are also so closely connected. And about the Soma in the Sahasrara also, some texts on yoga talk about it. But otherwise, Soma in Vaishnavi, in Hatha Yogic tradition, is above the left, in the side of the left forehead, above the left forehead. So Chandrasekhara, there the nectar is supposed to reside there, and it is oozing, and the person who is able to stop it at the neck or the throat and consume the amrita, he is supposed to be a great yogi in Hatha Yoga tradition, and he should not let it fall in the stomach being consumed by the Surya or the Agni in the Jataragni. Therefore, we practice the Jalandhara Bandha also in Hatha Yogic tradition. But this Amrita Manthana is a very wonderful concept in yoga, especially Hatha Yoga also. That also he brought out in a very beautiful way. And my mother hails from Polur, sir. My father, incidentally, Kameshwar is my, I should say, my nephew's son. Therefore, we belong to Kanchipuram, and my mother is from Polur. So, Padavadu is so closely connected to yoga, like Kundalini, and the way you brought about the Kundalini river and how Ambal gave him the veil, and Ekamuka, Shanmuka becoming Ekamuka. It's a wonderful yogi concept again. And but the way you enjoyed talking about the concept of goddess and the personal life of Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni was so enthralling and not only illuminating, but also, I think personally, and many of us would have gone to ecstasy the way you were explaining and also reciting the verses. And it was a treat to listen to you, sir, and we are extremely thankful to you for giving this lecture from your heart. Instead of talking from intellect, it was from your heart. We really enjoyed it, and I hope that someday we can do more research on this Uma Sahasram or some other texts of Vasishtha Ganapati Muni, and we can bring out a wonderful book for the benefit of the future generation also. I take this opportunity to thank you, sir, for your wonderful presentation and your excellent presentation. And we are thankful to the endowment maker, Sri R. Natarajan IAS, who was, he would have been very happy to listen to you because his English was like a Victorian English. You can go on listening to his English. Excellent ancient method of presentation. He was master of the language and European history, and we have heard him many times in Sanskrit College and Bharati Vidya Bhavan also. And we are thankful to the endowment maker, Sri R. Natarajan, former, of course, he passed away recently. We are thankful to him, and we are thankful to all those who were able to be present today and who had the benefit of listening to G. Kameshwar. Some of them could not come because maybe there was power failure due to this inclement weather. Otherwise, he would have got more audience for his lecture. Anyway, I think we can invite you again for some other lecture, maybe on the same subject with a different title. So really, we enjoyed your lecture, sir. Thanks to you. And I thank all of you for joining for this lecture today evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Logo.
Excellent speech. We all enjoyed it.